Cool. Awesome. Hey, Bridget, thank you so much for jumping on and having a quick chat with us here. It's
Pleasure.
fantastic to sort of go a little bit deeper into those tough issues and whatnot, going into such a weird time with it being lockdowns and whatnot. Do you want to give us a little bit of background about yourself and what you guys do over at The Effect?
Yeah, sure. Cool. No, thank you for having me. So I'm what you call a workplace psychologist. So I'm not one of those psychologists that has a couch and then we lie down and talk about our problems and things like that. So I focus primarily on helping folk in the workplace enjoy their work and get the most out of what they do during their workday. Because let's face it, you are at work a lot over your lifetime. So that's basically a bit about what I do, and also The Effect. So we run heaps of things around well-being, mental health, and leadership to be able to help not only organizations but leaders and also the people, the important people within them.
Awesome. Thanks, Bridget. Hey, just one of the main questions we're really hoping to ask and get a few tips and tricks on was, how do you look after yourself when there's a sort of a giant, scary global pandemic happening, or let alone a lockdown here in New Zealand? But yeah, what are some tips and tricks that we can do to make sure we are looking after our mental health and well-being?
Glad you asked this, because this is really, really important. We have to start with ourselves first, especially if we are in a position where we have a business or we are a leader or we're taking care of other people. So the first protocol is take care of yourself first. And I guess there's a handful of things that we can do to make sure that we are ticking along smoothly. The first thing off the rank, I guess, is sleep. So we must ensure that we get good quality sleep as best as we can. Now, I appreciate that that's not always the case for people who have newborns or things like that, but where you can, try and get 7 to 9 hours of sleep at night. Really, really important, because when your brain is asleep, it gets a lot of rest and it repairs itself. So therefore, when it comes to dealing with stuff during the day, your brain is better able to cope when it's well rested. So number one, sleep. Number two, exercise. We know this is incredibly powerful. We've probably all heard this before, right? Now, I don't mean going out and running a marathon. I think some dude in the UK ran a marathon in his backyard. That's impressive, but I don't think you need to do that. Like literally 10 minutes in the morning, walking outside with the sun on your face is enough for your brain to go, thank you so much. I really love this, and to start to excrete all the hormones and neurotransmitters that it needs to feel healthy and well. So it does not have to be massive. You don't have to go and lift weights, do marathons or anything like that. Just something, move at the end of the day. And the third thing that's really important in keeping yourself well is nutrition. Now, I know for me it's a bit of a weak spot. I know it's not always easy, but again, your brain's an electrochemical device. So whatever you put in there is going to interact. So if you're going to put in there a lot of caffeine, sugar, fat, then your brain is not going to like it so much. So it's trying to get as much nutrients in your food as you possibly can. I know it seems a bit, dry and boring. I don't mean you need to go and have green smoothies and stuff like that. Just have an apple a day or something. So just add something in. You don't necessarily have to take away your coffee, but add something else in. So those three things are a start. They're kind of your foundations for good brain health.
Fantastic. Yeah, look, I absolutely love that. I mean, I think the main thing I'm taking away from this as well is it's not just about doing these things during a pandemic or in a tough situation. These are the three critical parts to sort of looking after one's overall health and long term, right?
Oh, 100%, absolutely. If you can just get these things ticking along smoothly, everything else should fall into place, to be honest. It's not rocket science. You don't need to be hanging upside down or taking cold baths every day. Yeah. Just get some sleep, eat properly, and move.
So what are some things as business owners that we can do to help our team during a lockdown? I mean, we've got so much to worry about, whether it's juggling the billing side of things and scheduling the teams and getting them home and working from home. But we often look past the actual individual that is at the end of this. So what can we do as leaders in the space?
Yeah, another really good question, Ryan. So I think as leaders or business owners, it's been a little bit more hands off in terms of scheduling, planning that work stuff, and being a bit more hands on when it comes to getting to know your people better. This is a perfect time to get to know your people, like really get to know your people. Quite often we don't have the opportunity or time or chance to really get to know who our people are, what their values are, what makes them tick, what's their favorite hobbies, things like that. So I think it's really taking the time to connect with your crew. It's about setting up, what a really cool thing to do is set up some kind of team meeting, but not really a meeting, like it's like going to the pub. You want to set up social interactions. So where they primarily are social, that's it. It's not talking about anything to do with work. It's just like a virtual going to the bar kind of thing. And that's really, really important, because that's where you're going to be able to see how people are doing, what's going on for them in their lives. You might even meet their children, their cats, and whatever else they've got going on.
Or get to see someone's kitchen.
Exhibit A, yeah, exactly. This stuff's all really important, because the more you know your people, the better that you're going to be positioned to be able to help them if they need any help, because then you'll be able to know what's going on. So you could even do things like have little challenges where people have to take a photo of their favorite meal they cooked that week, or take a photo of their kids and send them in. So then everyone else gets to know everyone as well. I really struggle a little bit with this word social distancing, because I think it's not right. It's actually physical distancing that we should be doing. We should be socially getting closer. Because connection is so important in terms of our mental health and well-being, especially when we are physically isolated from each other. So creating opportunities to connect, to socialize, learn more about your people. Now is the perfect time to do that.
Awesome.
Cool.
So what are the signs that someone is actually not okay, and you do need to push past the yeah, I'm okay, mate?
Yeah. This is really important, because typically you might be able to see a bit better when someone's not okay when you're working closely with them. You're not now. So that's why in my previous answer, that when we talked about connection and things, having those moments where we are socially connecting quite frequently, that they're really important, because that's what's going to give you the signs that say someone's not okay. Typically, there's a couple of ways that this could go in terms of what a person can do. Number one is they withdraw. So they won't participate in any social interactions you set up. They won't answer their phone. They won't reply to texts. They won't reply to any sort of messaging. They just kind of go off the radar. To me, that is a sign. If there's silence, that's very loud. Pay attention to that. The second thing that can potentially happen is they go the other way. So they become louder. Might be that they're texting you multiple times at night. They might be that they are having outbursts or overreacting to things that they normally wouldn't overreact to. So for example, you might be having a catch up online, all of you as a team, someone makes an offhanded comment and that one over there starts getting upset and firing off about it. So like when the people kind of quickly react, that also means maybe something is not quite right. The main thing I think for people, and this depends on how well you know your people, is if they're acting different to what they normally are, then something may be up, and then we have to check in. Of course, checking in is not always that easy, right? Because quite often, how often do you ask someone and they say, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm fine. I don't really want to go there, so I'm just going to say I'm fine. You will get that, absolutely. And I guess there's a couple of things you can do. The first thing is keep asking. So don't just stop because someone said they're fine. Ask again. Just try another time of day, try another opportunity. Just keep asking. By keeping asking, you are sending the message that, hey, I care, I'm not letting you off the hook, I'm still going to keep asking you. The second thing is, in terms of what do I say, you could say something like, hey, I've noticed, Ryan, that you've been really quiet the last week. Quite often we have chats in your kitchen and things, and you've missed our kitchen chats a couple of times, and then quite often you sit there really quiet, and I'm really concerned. Is everything going all right at the moment, or what's happening? So you could ask a question a bit like that. So it's basically sharing your observation with them and then asking them an open-ended question. So what's going on? What's happening? That's another way that you can approach it. But it's really important that we do say something. I think when we don't, that's when it becomes a bit of a problem, because those people who disappear off the radar, who don't say anything, who don't respond, we don't know what's going on. And the only way we're going to is if we engage with them. I guess one more thing that we can do as a leader really quickly is that when you set up your teams, you could do something like a scale check. So on a scale from 1 to 5, how are we doing today? And you can even get the team to come up with the scale. So for example, 1, doing really rubbish, 5, blowing it out of the park, really awesome. Whatever measurement the team want to use. And so what you can do when you catch up in a team meeting or however you're catching up is you can say, okay, guys, what's your number? And I'm a 1, I'm a 3, I'm a 5. Sometimes just giving a number is just easier. And then later on you can go, hey, Ryan, I noticed you said you were a 1. What's going on? So just another way to kind of get yourself in, if that makes sense.
Fantastic. Awesome. So what is another well-being hack that everyone can use in the day-to-day side of things?
Okay, cool. Quite often we think about the things that we're missing out on, right? When we're locked down. So this whole FOMO thing, fear of missing out. The problem is when we think about the things that we don't have, that tends to make us feel like that flash. So what we can do is think about the things we do have. So literally write down a list of all the things that we have because of COVID. So for example, I don't have to sit in traffic to go to work anymore. I can walk around in my bike pants all day, every day. I can have chips anytime I want out of the pantry. I can watch hours of Netflix. And by the way, I do all these things. I can work whenever I want or not, for some people, depending on what their jobs are. So by listing all the moments of joy, that gets our brain focusing on what makes us happy, and therefore we start to feel a lot better. So focus on what you have and not on what you don't.
Awesome. That's a really good point. I love that. Like, I love it. That's such a good one. I'm like sitting here in my slippers right now going, fuck, when can I do this normally? Do you know what I mean? So it's
literally, if you write it down, apparently if you write it down, then your brain will start to hunt those things out.
Yeah.
Focus on it. It's like, oh, that's right, cool. I can wear my bike.
I almost don't want to write it down because I start associating lockdown with a positive situation. I don't even want to go back to the office.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.